Hey, what's up? This is Questlove of the legendary Roots crew. And I will say that um, right now I'm just in the capacity of being of having the pleasure of having a conversation with uh the collective of Son Lux. And for me, everything everywhere all at once is one of those films that's a game changer. Literally, I've watched this film 15 times and I've left no stone unturned, from the smallest level to the biggest level, and everything from the camera work to the stunts to especially the music, the scoring of it all, the storyline. It really transformed me, and um, enough that I'm willing to, in this capacity of just massive fan, to have a conversation um, with our participants today, Ian Chang, Ryan Lott, and Rafik Batian. Am I pronouncing that right? Biatin?
Yeah, it's Batia. Yeah.
Oh, Batian. Okay, I got it
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
Um, for starters, I will say congratulations. I would like to know um the circumstances for which you agreed to do this film. um did you guys immediately have an idea of what you thought the finished product, the final film was going to be like, from the moment that the Daniels you know kind of approached you guys to do musical work on this film? Like, did you have any idea whatsoever what was on the page was going to wind up in the film?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, it's such an honor to be speaking to you today. We're all massive fans and very indebted to your work, not just as a musician, but also in so many other capacities. And so, really, it's our honor and privilege. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For real. With regards to like whether or not we knew what this film was going to be like, the answer is absolutely not. Um, but we did, our first interactions with Daniels were like this combination that really, should have told us a lot about what this whole process was going to be like. On the one hand, they were so specific in terms of their reasoning for reaching out to us. They had listened to all of our records as Son Lux, also all of the records that we've individually made under our own names. And they were kind of like, okay, so we are coming to you guys because you clearly all have these interests in reconciling opposite tendencies in your music. Like there will be like these sounds that don't necessarily feel like they go together, and you guys find this way to like draw a thread through them in your music. And that's what this film needs. We like, first of all, like the universes themselves need to have really recognizable sounds, because we're going to be moving so fast through them all that it's going to feel like changing channels on a TV or something like that. And the music needs to help us know which universe we're in at what moment immediately. But also, as the movie goes on, all of those seemingly disparate elements need to cohere into something that feels united, in which those opposite tendencies are reconciled, and where it feels like that comes together in a way that has emotional weight and supports this story that really is a story about family, among so many other things. Mm-hmm. And so we were like, wow, that's an incredibly specific, like, kind of vision. And, and then on the other hand, we had this script from them, which at the time I think was for like a 3.5 or 4 hour version of the movie. It's even crazier, even more like other storylines. There was like a whole side plot about a character named Spaghetti Baby Noodle Boy. Like there was just like.
So wait, you're telling me that somewhere in this atmosphere there's a director's cut?
Yes, there is. There is.
There actually is.
So yeah. The first cut you saw was how long?
No, we didn't see a cut.
We didn't see.
Yeah, we got involved before it was even cast. So they reached out. They knew music was going to be a big piece of the puzzle, and it's going to be maybe a tricky one to solve. And so we had the honor of being involved kind of from the movie's infancy, like we got to watch it bloom from a seed of their making. It was which is so rare, you know, as in scoring. It's so rare to be involved like very early, be part of the concept, you know.
There's no director's cut yet, but that script I believe was released to the world somehow. It's somewhere out there. Yeah.
Well, let's hope that, you know, I feel like it's injustice if there's not at least a Criterion version of it.
Yeah.
Where there's more to learn from. So I would like to know, just as far as like how you colored the film, because yeah, there's so much tension there, and there's literally, I mean, there's no sound that is wasted in terms of be it like industrial noises or, you know, sometimes pretty melodic things, but then there's tension because again, the way that the Daniels sort of cut and edit this film, it's beautiful chaos. Could you at least tell me like what was kind of a difficult scene to score just in terms of the timing? Because you know, like a lot of what happens in the film, you know, coincides with also movement and those. So like how, and especially with I don't think I've ever seen a situation in which scoring, like I like production groups because, you know, I'm a generation that grew up like on the Bomb Squad, like with Public Enemy, and so kind of their thing was always like spaghetti on the wall, like we'll just throw it and see what sticks. But you know, like all members of the group are just throwing, you know, this snare here and this sound there and adding to the pot. Like what's the process like? Like who's the alpha in the situation, or do all of you get a chance to at least establish a base and then you add on to it?
Yeah.
Or do you just handle scene by scene? Like you do this scene, I'll do that scene, and
I would say it's an amalgamation of a lot of the above. Like there's definitely, especially with this film, there's definitely a fair amount of like throwing spaghetti at the wall. And as much as I would love to say that we like masterminded this whole thing, like it was hard for me to even like wrap my head around the movie, like halfway through us working it, you know what I mean? Like working on the score. And it's just like, you kind of like swim through it. And with the guidance of Daniels, something came out the other end, and it's something we're all very proud of. But definitely I would say Ryan did the lion's share of the score. Ryan like is like the man who can do all like the orchestral stuff, and that's like a lot. And he's also way more experienced as a film composer than Rafiq and I are. And there was definitely a fair amount of cross-pollination, like, you know, Ryan or Rafiq being like, hey, like Ian, like I need some like elements, like sound design elements or drum elements, and or I might like need, oh, like, you know, that air guitar sound that you do, Rafiq, I need that doubling this melody here, you know. And we kind of had certain characters that in terms of sonically, like a lot of the percussion is all like these traditional Chinese drums that we like did a big sampling session for, and gongs, but used in different ways. And you know, I think I like put some foil on the drums to give it like a buzz, so it like kind of had like a little extra texture, stuff like that.
I'm so glad you're saying this, because you know, I was wondering how much of these noises that I was hearing were, you know, because initially my first thought was like, well, you know, is this, are these like really brilliant? I think maybe the fourth or fifth time when I started paying attention to the music, I was like, yo, these patches, like, how come I can't find patches like this on this level? But I wanted to know like how much of the building process of like trying to make something out of nothing, like, you know, are you getting jars of peanut butter and figuring out if that has a good tone to it? Like, but you're basically saying that
yes, we are.
So you were given the freedom to just experiment and try to reach outside the.
Yeah, man. I mean, we were, you know, the film was a day shy of wrapping on production when it was shut down because of COVID.
Oh, so you finished right before March of 2020, or?
No.
That was
Oh.
barely
So
begun.
they
Yeah.
first called us September 2019. We were so excited.
Okay.
We started working, started generating raw materials. We were already in the studio over Red Bull. Actually, we were in there working on a record, and
Right.
and we were like, "Yo, let's also do some shit for this movie," because we just felt so inspired. So we started generating stuff for them to start to temp in and just to like develop this sound vocabulary of the movie, and then but not really like musical ideas in a thematic sense, more just texture and weird cool shit. And so but then they started shooting, and then a day shy of finishing up, they had to shut down. What that did is then it took the horizon line that was like our goalpost, for when we needed to finish this record, how much time we had to score this, and it just evaporated, right? So we suddenly had this unending, we had this infinite amount of time to gestate and to let this movie bloom in its own way. So they start editing with everything they have, which is most of it, right? Start piecing the thing together. But man, we never did a spotting session. We never once walked through this movie with the Daniels, because it started to come together in such a weird organic way, like these molecules forming, larger structures, and then over here, and then they're moving it all around. And that's what we were doing musically too. And so, because we had this like latitude to bloom, like to let this thing bloom and do its thing and to explore. What that also meant is that we could get really crazy with how bespoke we could get everything, right? So we were generating all of our raw materials from scratch, from sessions we did solo with ourselves, but also small sessions we did with with our friends, and even some of our heroes. And so it was a very bespoke operation, a handcrafted kind of thing. But the movie deserved it, and I think there's no end to the ways in which the upheaval of like everything we knew, was terrible with COVID and everything. But also, I mean, for us, we found a blessing in that we had this extra time to, I think, do what the movie deserved.
Yeah, I'll say that was probably like a rare moment of magic where, kind of the quiet of that period and the concentration of that period allowed for more time for creativity and thought and all those things. So I totally see that. So speaking of heroes, could you please talk about the collaborative process for This Is a Life, the piece that ends the movie with David Byrne and Mitski. So could you talk about the genesis of the song, like how it came into being and the collaborative process, and what was it like working together?
Yeah. Well, we, usually the composer or composers don't get a crack at the end credits song. Maybe it's a score montage, but but we were feeling pretty greedy because I guess we were so in love with this project, and we were so inside of it for years. And so we just knew, we were like, yo, we can't pass up this opportunity to try something really special. This movie deserves something special for the end. And honestly, what happened is I think A24 saw an early cut of the film, and I think at that point, they believed that this was something really special. Having really only seen the scripts, which, was arguably something that couldn't be made into a successful movie that made it,
Wait, I do gotta ask, did you receive the script first before you decided to?
Well,
yeah, we did, and it was like,
and what was the conversation like?
we on the one hand, they had that super specific stuff that I was telling you at the beginning, like about reconciling opposite tendencies and all this stuff, and then on the other hand, we had this script where Ryan was like, I think my PDF is broken, because when I turn the page, all of a sudden it's like all this stuff about spaghetti baby noodle boy, and like, is this right? Like, You know, so
Yeah, just a
yeah,
lot of
that was
non sequitur things coming at you
Yeah.
all at
I just didn't. Yeah, I thought there's no way this PDF isn't fucked up somehow. And if it isn't, then there's no way they're gonna make this movie.
How long did it take you guys to at least gather up the courage to sort of ask, like, wait, am I missing some pages, or were things mixed up, or
I was
did
a
they
little
did they
embarrassed
give
because
you did they
I don't
give
think
you
I was
any
smart
warning
enough.
whatsoever?
I don't think I was
Yeah.
smart enough. I think that's the real thing. I think Rafiq was
No,
laughing his
dude.
ass off this whole way through. Ian couldn't put it down, and I was like, "What?" You know? But when they said, "Yo, we got Michelle Yeoh," we were like, "Oh,
Oh.
so this shit is actually gonna happen. Like, they're gonna actually make this. We're gonna actually have to score this thing, or
Yeah.
get to score it / have to." You know?
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so they see it's so back to the story with David and Mitski. So I think they saw a cut of it and they were like, "Yo, this has so much potential. I think this is what happened." And they swoop back around to us through Daniels, and we're basically like, you know, what would you do if you had a little more money? Which is like not something you ever hear as a composer on a film. You never hear like, what if you had more budget to work with? And you know, so and what they knew is if they could enhance the kind of like, or do whatever they could to enhance the culture of around surrounding this movie, and do whatever they could that's like kind of like late in the game stuff to like just take this over the edge. What could we do? And so we basically right away made a list of our heroes and like people we really would love to work with and bring into the score and weave into this thing. And one of Daniel Kwan's favorite artists, he had sent us his little Spotify year-end thing, and like, you know, 2 out of 3 of his top were Son Lux and Mitski. And we were like, "Yo, we gotta reach out to Mitski. Let's see if she's into it." So we got on Zoom. It was, she saw the movie, David saw the movie. Both of them immediately turned around and said, "Yo, this is on the strength of the movie." In other words, not on the strength of us as any, you know.
Oh, Son Lux is doing it. Hell yeah, I'm gonna do it. Right.
But really, for real, like, and this
Yeah.
was the same with Randy Newman and others who got involved. Like, they saw the movie and were like, "Yo, no question, I'm definitely in." So we just got together virtually, and all parties were very into it, very studious, and all about just trying to make something beautiful.
Well, goal achieved.
Thank you so
I'll
much.
put it that way. Yeah. So I mean, basically, in closing, I would like to know. Sometimes I'll see movies and there'll be you know, kind of like a certain theme. I mean, you know, like the way that you know, this happens a lot in Kubrick films where it's just like even though it's a singular note or something like that, there's something that connects everything. In doing this, is there a particular score piece that sort of sets the tone for the movie that you feel as though like this is our signature thing? Or
This is maybe a bit of a weird answer to this question, because musically,
I welcome it.
It's not. This might maybe set the tone in terms of mindset for us and like philosophically for us more than anything, which was actually the first thing that Daniels asked us for, which is a hilarious first assignment. Was they were just like, yeah, so there's a universe in this movie that everyone has hot dog hands, and we need, you know, a musical number for it that they're gonna like sing on screen, and we need this like now because we're shooting the scene and they were gonna have to like sing it on screen. And we were just like, and one of our reservations the first time we talked to Daniels was like, we're not that like funny musically as a band, you know what I mean? But the first thing they were just like, immediately they were like, okay, y'all are gonna like write this like hot dog hands musical. And so we're all
and the
like,
thing
oh
is,
my
like,
God.
they had been like, you know, oh, you guys aren't gonna have to be funny, like you're gonna be really serious, and that's gonna make it funnier because you're gonna be on the team of like making the audience suspend their disbelief.
Ironically,
and then the first
exactly.
thing we have to do, they're like, okay, we're gonna make the song about the hot dog hands.
So all three of us like made versions of the Hot Dog Hands musical, and I think, but basically, like what I'm trying to say is that like they immediately forced us to do something outside of our comfort zone and something that was like, and we've come to reflect upon this after all of it, like the whole project and it coming out, is that like in a way what they did with us and what it seems like they did with every department, from what I can tell, is like they got everyone involved, so invested that they got everyone to sort of reach in and find different versions of themselves the same way that the characters on screen are doing so, to kind of make this film as rich as possible. And that was like from day one, they're just like, yeah, do something that like y'all would never ever do as a band. And even though that wasn't musically like setting the tone, that like definitely like put our heads in a space where we're just like, okay,
Well,
we're gonna be open. Yeah.
I'm glad we now officially have something in common. Because I often joke my very first day on the Tonight Show. And mind you, this is 18 years after like
Yeah.
whatever, I could have achieved in life. I was very satisfied. I mean, even if it was just like D'Angelo's Voodoo or whatever. But one of my one of my first royalty checks from the union were it was a sizable amount for our first song, which was called Hot Dog in a Hole.
Oh,
Just to, I think every musician should have a trial by fire, where writing about hot dogs is that thing. Yeah, but in closing, I will say that I 100% totally understand the idea of leaving your comfort zone and sort of stretching to the limits and discovering muscles and powers you never had before.
Mm.
So, I mean, that said, having kind of had this experience, when you guys are like, how will this make you? How will this make your like, okay, if you're doing a follow-up to Brighter Wounds, came out like what, 2018, 2019, I believe. So your follow-up project, like, will this at all affect how you create the next time? I mean, for Christ's sakes, like, you have different patches and sounds and noises that you haven't utilized before.
So in addition to scoring this movie, we didn't tour because because of COVID, but we also made a triple record. So check that out. It's called Tomorrow's 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And so we made that at the same time as we were making this album, this score. And so there is actually, for the geeks, there's some shared DNA and interconnectivity between
some references and okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You basically made this record for me. I get it.
Yes. So go check it. Now moving forward, I mean, I guess I'll answer the question conceptually for myself. I learned so much from the Daniels from this project. The thing I guess I learned on a metaphysical level is that I shouldn't place so many limits on what I think is possible.
Just like the movie, it teaches you.
Yeah.
Well, Ian, Ryan, and Rafiq, without, I don't want to be the annoying person that I had to encounter last year when I was going through this process.
And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Congrats.
I will absolutely say, I mean, here's the deal. I mean, I could say something like, okay, clear the mantle. It's going to happen. However, I believe the true reward of the film is the film itself. And this is one of those films where even in its chaos, everything stands out and really shines enough to, and I'm not lying, like I'll say that probably Fantasia and this movie are the two movies that in the last year and a half I probably watched kind of like twice a month, maybe 3 times a month.
Holy
And
shit.
especially for this film, like making people watch it. Yo, when you people didn't, it was a little slow for me in 20 minutes. No, you didn't watch that shit. You watch them right now. Like literally,
Yeah.
like you're watching it right now. It was as if it was my movie. But it is my movie because I felt like this movie was a part of my life. And I just want to thank you people for just really fine, stellar work, and I hope you get all the awards and all the just dues and everything. This really impacted me, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
saying that.
Thank you, Quest. Yeah,
And really, man,
it's huge.
and more than that way, that this movie is your movie, because osmosis is a real thing, and each of us individually and collectively are indebted to your work, indebted to you for your work. And
Okay.
you are what you eat, and we've featured on Quest for our whole lives, and like I love it. So,
Thank you.
so there's no way that you didn't have your hands in this one.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah.
Okay.
baby.
Questlove.
Thank you.
So nice to chat.